It's time for some nice, relaxing reading. Thank you, Kasai. Thank you. Seems like Red isn't back yet, but that's okay. Okay. Oh, shit. Hold on. Alright. So, if I remember correctly, we stopped at... Oh, man. The reading and story stuff could be one of my fake segments? Aw, I'm glad. Hell yeah. I'm glad, Kasai. In that case, it motivates me to look for more, different novels and stuff that I could read. Let me see what official novelizations of games there is. Tinfoil hat time. Yes, exactly. Oh, here we go. This is where we left off on. I wanted to leave off on one that was like absolutely horrible. And yeah, and also, by the way, Small Dog is on my lap today. So let's see if she enjoys it. Maybe she hears the relaxing music in her head. Maybe she's Bluetoothing it. I don't know. She's looking at me right now. She's wearing her PJs. Anyway. So all right, let me have some water here before we start. Let's take a good look at these guys here too. So last time on All Tomorrows, the Q fellas, they just decided to, fuck shit up. And these guys got the worst of it. Imagine being a species that is only meant to be a filter. Look at that. You guys can see my mouse, right? Alright. Let's continue. Alright. Or how to get a cough out so there's the least phlegm as possible. Flyers. They were not uncommon at all in the domain of Q. At least a dozen world-sported human-derived flying species of one kind or another. Most resembled the bats or pterosaurs of the bygone past. Remember, folks, quick recaps. Humans went to Mars, my bad. Humans went to Earth. Human went to Mars. New race of humans. Wars of various tiers happened. Super species demade humanity, but DNA is all the same. Now life is happening again. It is all human. Yes, basically. Last time. Oh, hi, Red. Welcome back. So yeah, last time and all tomorrows. Yeah. So yeah, humans were like, all right, let's go to Mars. Yippee! So Martians became a thing. They're just slightly different humans because they're living on Mars, and now they started living on other planets, and then these guys showed up, and they were like, wait a minute. The Q, they were like, wait a minute, you guys aren't supposed to do that. Only we can do that. So they decided to remake them, demake them. Yeah, that's a better word for it. Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do with these images, by the way, going forward, is that I like looking for the humanness. So, for example, these guys, the nose, the ear, like the lips. It reminds you these are still supposed to be people. And you didn't miss much, right? We're just starting here. Anyway, here we go. I was over here. Dancing through the ether like angels, or demons, depending on the point of view. There were a few bizarre kinds, relied on swollen gas glands for flotation as well. Swollen booty butt for flotation. Sadly, most of these creatures were already too specialized to be anything but flyers. They had forsaken their humanity for the conquest of the sky. They had little potential for further radiation beyond their limited roles. The only exception proved out to be a monkey-like species that flew on wing membrane stretched across the last two fingers. Their advantage was a unique, turbine-like heart artificially developed during the regime of Q. No other human flyer in the galaxy had such an adaptation. The starfish-shaped organ sat in the middle of their chest, funneling oxygen from the lungs to the bloodstream in a supremely efficient way. This meant that the flyers could develop energy-consuming adaptations such as large brains without having to give up their power of flight. Now, not that the flyers were going to reclaim their sentience right away. Instead, they literally exploded into skies, filling the heavens with anything but bomber-sized sailors to impossibly fast predators that raced with sound. Their world was pristine, and there were plenty of niches to play in. Intelligence could wait a little more. Let's see. An ancestral flyer in her native element. Ancestral. Though ungainly, these creatures have an artificial metabolic advantage that gives them tremendous evolutionary potential. Alright guys, are we ready to see them? Is that titty? I like the hair. Maybe I could do zoom in. It's a heartbeat. I guess so. Yeah. Should I zoom in a little more? Pterodactyls. Literally, yeah. Is that good? Or should I zoom in more? You can see the length of it over here. Let's see. Let's go for the next one. I think Small Dog likes this segment. It's good there, I think, already. Nice. Hand flyers. Some flying post-humans reapproach sentience in an entirely different way, without the augmented metabolisms or the gravitational advantages of their siblings on distant planets. They had no choice but to give up their power of flight in order to develop further. The hand flappers were one such species. Their wings, once used for butterfly-like flutters in the unearthly gardens of Q, had shrunken and reverted back into their manual condition. Their legs were likewise readapted, but they bore a splayed awkwardness from their perching ancestry. Only a singular and an almost sadistically simple flaw held them back from developing civilization. In the course of their secondary atrophy, the wings of the hand flappers had become useless as hands as well. Their flags-like appendages were very useful in signaling and mating dances, but they couldn't hurl missiles, construct shelter, or even manufacture basic stone tools. All that they could do with their useless hands was to display each other's sexual availability, so the hand flappers did just that, flashing and dancing their way to oblivion. A hand flapper on the edge of their mating territory, during their almost comical exaggeration of sexual display, his kind has begun to lose their edge at adaptation. Theirs will be a boisterous, ecstatic, but ultimately ephemeral existence. Oh. I don't think this music really fits here, you know, I think. Oh. So that's all they do with their hands? That's all they do? That's interesting. What do you guys think? Hold on, I think I need to drink some water here. Huh. Right. I think, let's just continue. I didn't expect them to have such a sagging sack. That's all they're for. That's all they do. This is all they use. Let's move on before anything happens. Alright, anyway. Blind folk. When the Q came, they dug in and dug in deep. Inside several continent-sized shelters under their besieged world, they waited for the invaders to pass by. It was a futile gamble. The Q located the shelter caves and remade their inhabitants without effort. The shelters became home to an entirely different ecology, a realm of perpetual darkness fueled by the trickle of water and nutrients from the world outside. A surprisingly complex ecology developed on this scant resource, gigantic, pale insects. The descendants of common household pests competed with Dali-esque birds and rodents over fields of overgrown fungi. Predators were not uncommon. Almost crocodilian fish patrolled the underground streams, and vast blind bats, echolocating with unnerving precision, took their toll on the residents of the cave floor. The kilometer-high ceilings of the shelters glowed in the dark with constellations of bioluminescent fungi, and in some cases, animals. People were present here as well, albeit, how do you say this word? Albeit? Let's be real, I don't know how to say it. In unfamiliar forms. They were often heard than seen as they tried to find their way in the dark with banshee-like screams. Their albino troglodytes lived in a realm where sound and touch, not sight, was the gateway of perception. They had developed long tactical fingers, enormous whiskers, and mobile ears to live in the dark. Where their eyes should have been, there was nothing but a patch of haunting, flawlessly smooth skin. Their perfect adaptation to the world of darkness had erased the most basic feature of human recognition. As adapted as they were doomed. Before the blind folk could develop any kind of intelligence to crawl out of their geographical graves, the glacier constriction of their world's continental plates snuffed out the shelters one by one. Albeit? Okay, thank you, Kasai. Thank you. Thought that was a word that sounded like albeit. Yeah, albeit. There we go. A startled blind father with his year-old daughter, though he knows better to sit still in order to confuse sonar-equipped predators, the youngster screams and soils herself in terror. Their attuned fingers are hallmarks of a lifetime spent in darkness. So, the daughter is shitting herself. Is that shrooms back there? Yeah. They're like moles. Yeah, they're like moles. Oh. The eyes, smooth. Nothing there. They don't need them. They got feelers? This is the ears. That's what happened to the ears? Alright. Let's see. Lopsiders. The Q were grotesquely creative in their redesign of human worlds. One group of misfortunate souls they transported to a planet with 36 times the amount of normal gravity and made them over for life in this bizarrely inhospitable realm. The results of the experiments resembled nightmare sketchings of Botch, Dali, or Picasso. They looked like cripples squashed between sheets of glass. 3 out of their 4 limbs had become paddle-like organs for crawling. Only one of their arms remained as a spindly tool of manipulation. The singular wizened limb also doubled as an extra sensor, like the antennae of an insect. Their faces were different horrors altogether, all the pretensions of symmetry. The hallmark of terrestrial animals from jawless fish onwards were completely and utterly done away with. One bulging eye stared directly upward, while the other scanned ahead in the direction of the creature's vertically opening jaws. The ears were likewise distorted. Monstrous as they looked, these X-Men thrived in their heavy gravity environment. Once again, there was the usual explosion of species into every available niche, and the Lopsiders consolidated their chances for a renewed sentience. The Lopsider feeds some indigenous pets native to his high-gravity world. The domestication of native fauna in the Lopsider's first step on the long way towards civilization. That's his pet. That's the fingy they use. This one, the eye, this one goes like this, and this one's like this. I like how they still have like armpit hair. You see? The pet is kind of cute. You don't think it's kind of cute? No? The nails though. So yeah, high gravity. So this is like those fish that are like at the bottom of the ocean. I love the pets. This music doesn't fit. Let's try a different song. Let's try this one instead. Let's see. Striders. While the Lopsiders were designed to live under extreme gravity, another species had been adapted for... Is this too loud? To live under the exact opposite conditions. On a jovial moon with 1/5 of Earth's gravity. It was a world of wonders, where even the grass grew almost 10 meters tall, and the trees were beyond belief, towering to sizes attained only by skyscrapers of antiquity. Antiquity, huh? In these surreal forests lived equally spectacular fauna, the descendants of pests, and livestock of humans, who in turn had been reduced to animosity as well. Think it's better in volume's good? The transcendent, yeah, this is that Donkey Kong. Alright, this is good? Alright. I think this fits a little bit better. This song's only 15 minutes, but, you know, we got a couple of other songs. One could see them in the league-tall forest, almost dancing among the trees as they reared higher and higher to browse. Their arms, legs, and necks had been stretched and possibly thinned. Great flaps of skin blossomed throughout their bodies to dispense waste heat. Sometimes they could even change their color in order to reflect light and keep cool. Overheating was a great problem for their grotesquely tall, thin bodies. Although imposing these... Oh, no spoilers. These... What? How do you say this word? I'm stumped. I'm not gonna try. Rates were overdeveloped to be sickeningly fragile. Even on their gravitationally forgiving world, a fall could shatter their bones, and slipping down from a branch could prove to be fatal. Sometimes on the open plains, even a strong wind could bring them down like the toppling masts. Like the toppling mast, yes. They survived entirely due to the merciful conditions of their garden world, which were about to change drastically. What word is that? I don't know what word this is. About 2 million years after the Q left, their towering works of human art, a lineage of fearsome predators, evolved from the terrestrial poultry that had gone feral on the planet. Resembling at two something versions of their dinosaur ancestors, the predators swept through the garden world like wildfires, extinguishing any species too fragile to escape or resist. The peaceful, delicate striders were among the first to go. Damn. Damn. These guys got because they were just way too chill. So it sounds like chickens re-evolved back into dinosaurs and they fucking killed these guys. I believe that is what happened. Also, hold on. Alright, sorry guys, I'm back. Dog is happy. Dog likes this segment. Anyway, so I think these guys are one of the least horrifying, like, ones. It reminds me of dodos. Did dodos... Wait, what happened with dodos? Did they kill? That's great news. Yes, I'm petting her right now at this very moment. She loves it. She's like, reading stream? I love it. She absolutely loves it. Alright, let's keep going. Oh yeah, did you see this? Anyway, parasites. Humanity had diverged into two separate lineages on their world. On one hand, there were several races of almost Australopithecine. What the fuck? You finished eating. What did you eat, Red? On one hand, there are several, degraded by the Q for managing to turn back their initial wave of invasion. Yet simple atavism was too light a punishment for them. Their twisted relatives, the parasites, made up the second part of their sentence. Mashed potatoes and chicken wings? Oh, yummy! Well, we're fine until humans found them. I guess that's true, yeah. I see. There were several kinds of parasitic X-people, ranging... X-people is an insane thing, by the way. Ranging from tortoise-sized ambulatory vampires to the more common fist-sized variety that lived attached to their hosts. There was even a tiny endoparasitic kind that infested the wombs of their female victims like ghostly living abortions. Do you guys hear dog licking herself? Because I'm trying to get her to stop, but she just keeps licking. All these evolutionary tortures were played out under the careful scrutiny of the Q for 40 million years. The punishment was so... You don't hear it? Okay, good. The punishment was so baroque, so elaborate, that most of the artificial parasitic host relationships died out when the Q left. Some sub-men learnt to cleanse their tick-like relatives by drowning, burning, or even eating them. Others, like the vaginal parasites, died out as their aggressive method of parasitism effectively sterilized their hosts. Yet one or two varieties did manage to climb out of the host with abdominal suckers, muscular gripping tools, and sterile, pain-soothing saliva. The second time this stream we give the exact same reply. Oh, I see. You guys just blended together. But thank you for the input. Let's see. Their success did not lie entirely in the strength of their parasitical advantages. They also learned to regulate their dumb hosts, not killing them by overinfestation, and thus ensuring their own long-term survival as well. In any case, the single-sided relationships were rare in any ecology, natural or artificial. In millennial cycles, the cousin species' vicious parasitism began to give way into something more beneficial for both sides. Parasitic person, shown real size, although their fate seems inhuman in every aspect to an observer of today, their very survival shows that such subjective values are ineffectual in matters of long-term survival. So this thing is as big as if palm-sized, apparently it was. This dog is licking her paws, so I'm very sorry if you hear her licking her paws. I've been tapping her to get her to stop. She won't stop. Yeah. Looks like a toddler? Yeah. Fingerfishers. Their ancestors were trapped in an archipelago. Yes, a planet sprinkled with many continents and countless islands over interconnected networks of calm swallow seas. Like a magnified. Damn, this book's got some words in it. Definitely. This place was a terrestrial paradise in many respects, except that after the Q, no minds were left to enjoy it. That's an insane sentence. No minds were left to enjoy it. Yeah, she stopped licking herself and looked at me. She was like, "For real?" And I'm like, "Yeah." On this vacant biosphere, evolution was quick to begin her blind, unpredictable dance. Once feral, the descendants of degenerate humans adapted themselves to every available niche, no matter how exotic, how outlandish. One group learned to pluck fish from the lazy shores. Millennia passed, and it settled more into their piscatorial lifestyle. Elongated fingers became ambulatory fishhooks. Teeth modified for a generalized diet became needle-like affairs lined up neatly in a long, thin muzzle. In less than a few million years, the fingerfishers established themselves as a prominent lineage. There was scarcely a beach, an island, or an escus, whatever, that was devoid of their pale, lanky forms. As prolific as they were, the fishers were still no better than animals. Their humanity would come only after another spasm of outlandish adaptation. They have dialed up the terms this time. Goddamn, if I read this, I'd be struggling so hard with these words. Some of these, I'm like, what? But I feel like, you get it. Like, whoa. Like, what? Like, we get it. They're always at the shores. Like, beach, island, estuary? What is that? Estuary? Have you guys ever, I thought that I had a pretty decent vocabulary, if I'm gonna be honest. I'm loving it. I'm glad you're loving this, because hell yeah. I hope the rest of us are loving it too. I'm loving this too, actually. I love this reading segment. And I will be reading the entire book. So whatever we have room for towards the end, we will see. Because as you can see, we are almost halfway through the book. I do remember there's quite a bit left still. So don't worry. We're still pretty much at the beginning. I think I'm using to sleep with. Hopefully nobody redeems any screams. Somebody on the comments of YouTube told me they slept to the Mad Father stream. So I was like, aw. Most robots probably look fake to you. Anyway. It's alright, let's keep going. Ah yes, this is them, by the way. So yeah, I guess let me continue to give a quick recap. So right now we're, as we've said before, we're at where the Q has, come and fuck with us. And they left us for it's been millions of years, and they left us on whatever planet, whatever, purpose they had us with. Now this is what we're turned. So these guys, evolved to be fishers, and now they've got these fingies. Horsemen with long fingers. I think they're supposed to be more like dolphins, because they have, like, needle teeth. And, they fish. So yeah. So that's what happened with these guys. And again, I like looking for the little bits of human. Of course, the fingies, you can tell that these are human fingies. And of course, this guy's got fucking hair and everything. But yeah, I think they're supposed to be more of a dolphin kind of thing. But yeah, I see the horse too. Well, the teeth is natural evolution, I believe, due to diet for a lot of things. Yeah. But I always thought it was more of a dolphin thing. You don't think so? You think it's horses here. Like flat teeth for herb and sharp for meat. Dolphin. They look kind of cool though, the fingy. But again, a lot of these species are still not yet sentient, like humans were. Because the Q, those weird, like, dragonfly looking guys, This was them just fucking with us, because they were upset. Assholes, by the way. Hedonists. What? I don't want to comment. Even the blissful existence of the fingerfishers would not have seemed bothersome to the hedonists, for their kind was not evolved, but designed for a life of pleasure. The Q had kept them as pampered pets, set loose in a tropical island world of succulent fruits, bountiful trees, and calm, lapping lakes full of sweet, bacterial manna? They got mana out here? Furthermore, the hedonists were left as the only animal life on this place. They had no choice but to enjoy it to the fullest. In normal conditions, any given species would have quickly crowd out such a utopian environment, but normal conditions have never been to the point of the Q redesign. They had altered their subjects so that they could conceive only after mating an enormous number of potential suitors continually over a period of decades. While this took care of the population problem, it also made the species less adaptable. Without any point in sexual competition, natural selection would progress only at a glacial pace. Fortunately, their stable microsome, god damn it, remained free of environmental catastrophes even after the Q left. All these changes had also made the hedonists' day. Their lives were juxtaposed routines of browsing, sleeping, and mind-blowing sex. Troubled neither by the concerns of disease or pregnancy. Aloof and carefree, they enjoyed the most pleasurable times of all mankind, albeit with the intellectual capabilities of 3-year-olds. It didn't really matter though. Who do you need to think when having such a nice time after all? The features of the Q. The favorites of the Q. A female hedonist lies alone on the beach, contemplating absolutely nothing. Without any pleasures from the world, without any pressure from the world, their days make themselves as they go along. So yeah. All they do is just fuck and eat and lay around. That's all they do. This is a female. Yeah. What do you think about that, small dog? She's looking at me. You see me looking at her? I don't know how she feels about this. Kinda sounds like good life considering all the others before it. Yeah. Just wait. Just wait. Alright, let's go to the next one. Insectophagi. Fagi. Insectophagi? I don't know how to say this. They're really testing me today, aren't they? Good thing I had my Mountain Dew. Do I have more Mountain Dew? I have some more. Only one that made a pet. All the others are evolution or punishment. That is true. These ones are technically a pet. You hear that, small dog? At least she's cute. Oh, I had some more Mountain Dew. Nondescript, quaint human species abounded in the post-Q galaxy. Hundreds of them lived out simple, unnoticed lives, never developing to become sentient. Oh, thank you for the head pats, Red. Wait, what? Stop. Wait, why did you head pat me? Did I do something? Like, you guys hear the gulps, but also thank you. I was just like, wait, did I do something? Also, by the way, give me more relaxing songs from games. The drinking. Oh. Okay, thank you. Any songs that have this kind of vibe that we've been having, I would very much love it. So, 30 minutes long or so. Thank you. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's see. Hundreds of them lived out, yes, never developing to become sentient, never learning their true heritage as star-born human beings. Most of them went extinct, not to be missed or even remembered. Those that lingered on managed to survive in shady, quiet niches, never again making any impact on the celestial scheme of things. One such species was the insecto-whatever. They had quickly adapted themselves for a diet of colonial insects and small animals. They had faces covered with leathery plates, claw-like hands to dig up prey, and worm-like tongues to scoop them out. All in all, they weren't special in any particular way, but a combination of galactic invasions, coincidence, and pure luck would later make them the longest enduring of all your starmen. The meek would inherit the cosmos, though not just yet. For now, the insecto-whatever were concerned only with the location of insect colonies and the onset of the mating season. So yeah. Bug eater fellas. Believe the leathery thing here is so that they don't get too bitten up by the bugs. And again, all they're like it says, they're just concerned with the next bug colony. They're all basically animals right now, mostly, except for those kind of elephant guys. I think those were the only ones that were still sentient. Oh, and the ones that were like antelopes. So far, they're, animals. Yeah, but I think these guys are kind of lame. But let's keep going. Spacers. It must be remembered that the Star People did not succumb entirely to the Q invasions. While their worlds fell away one by one, some Star People took refuge in the void of space. One after another, entire communities scrambled into generation ships and cast themselves off into the darkness, hoping to go unnoticed by beings that had overrun their galaxy. This across various planets too, ain't it? Yep, exactly. So they just like spread them all around. Because the Q, had invaded all of these planets, so they were all just like, and they all had different purposes. Like some were pets, the filter ones. Some, they just had them for decoration, like the ones that were like the plants in the ground. So yeah, they all had their purposes, and they left. And this is what became of the ones that left, except for these guys. These are the ones that did not, get remade. Desperate times made for desperate measures. As the Starmen had observed during their initial colonization of the galaxy, life in generation ships inevitably led to mass insanity and anarchy. This time, however, humans had to adapt themselves or face extinction. Entire asteroid fields were confiscated and hollowed out to make spaceships of unseen size. Their hollow shells cradled bubbles of precious air and water, but no artificial gravity of any kind. It was discovered that a purely ethereal existence would ease the stress of interstellar exile, providing that its inhabitants were adapted for life inside such an environment. I thought it was all on Mars. Nope, this is all various planets. Like, there was one planet that had extra gravity, so the flat people were the ones with, like, a lot of gravity. And then those really tall ones were on a planet that had less gravity, so they were all, like, stretched out, and all fragile. So this is across really huge distance, tons of planets. Okay. Furthermore, people were forced to change themselves in an atmospherically sealed, gravity-free environment. Their bones were left free to grow longer, thinner, spindlier. The circulatory and digestive systems were pressurized to avoid heart problems and congestion. The latter change had another advantageous side effect. Humans could navigate through the voids of jets of air expelled with modified anuses. Such experiments went numerous and usually plagued with failure. Yet they did succeed in creating a future. Sealed tight in their moon-sized, air-filled, weightless havens, the descendants of the Star People managed to evade the scourge of Q. It was an endless diaspora. Even after the Q left, they would find themselves too divergent to have anything to do with their ancestral lifestyles. The survivors of the initial hurdle would have never set foot on a planet again. Mars was the first step of humanity changing and advancing until we got to advance and the Q came around. You see, yes, exactly. So we were going to other planets and doing all our own changing, and the Q found us, and they didn't like that because they were already a billion year old species. All right, so let's see how. So this is basically how humanity was going to evolve next, since these are the only people that did avoid the Q, and as you can see, they made their own worlds inside of all of these hollowed out moons and such. But yeah, no gravity, so this is what they look like. 40 million years from today, spacers like this individual are the only truly sentient human beings that survive. They are so comfortable in their weightless refuge that the fates of their bestial cousins elsewhere do not concern them. They're also painfully rare. Their entire population in the Milky Way galaxy does not exceed a few dozen arcs in 100 billion souls. Yeah, look at them. Look at the fingies. The hair needs work. I don't know about the hair. So, I don't know if you heard, but they propel themselves with their farts. In the no gravity. No socks? Dog's out? He's got that new polo? Alright. Yeah. Next one. Ruin Haunters, a particular human species singled out by its lucky access to the heritage of its stellar ancestors, would eventually get to play a leading role in the shape of things to come. They had gone through the Q invasion with relatively little degradation. Yes, they had been reduced to a level of apes, but the recovery had been quick. Apparently, the Q had not worked as hard at suppressing their intelligence, nor had they made a comparable effort to wipe away the material traces of the Starmen. Even after millions of years, enormous ruins of the global urban spaces litter the continents of their world. Thus did the Ruin Haunters earn their names. Imagine it's like those deep breathing jokes, deep breath and just letting one rip after. Yeah, it's just normal there. You think they got, like, they go to their own version of, like, Circle K or something, you know, like 7-Eleven, and they're like, I gotta get to work really fast. I gotta get one of them fart drinks, you know. It would definitely work on me. With developed minds and unrestricted access to the wisdom of the ancient cities, the exponential pace of their development was only natural. One by one, they deciphered the... Built? They deciphered and built upon the secrets of the bygone star people. Sorry, I don't know why that confused me. Until they had almost equaled their galactic ancestors in wisdom and skill. All of this development happened in an unnaturally short period of time, and sometimes the old technologies were not even understood, as they were blindly replicated. Needless to say, such a pace of development put premature stresses on the social and political structures of the Ruin Haunters. They barely survived the 5 consecutive world wars that rigged their planet, 2 of which were thermonuclear exchanges. They made it through their baptism with fire, had hardened and awakened them. The wars united them politically and pushed their technological capabilities even beyond the level of the Starmen. Coincidentally, they also developed a dangerous form of autochthonous madness? Damn, these words. It's not just me, right? These are some words. The Ruin Hunters had come to believe that they were the sole descendants and the true heirs of the Star People, and they were ready and willing to do anything in order to claim their fictitious bygone golden age. You said with word, okay, but you know, guys, you know, but still, you know. Only 1,000 years after the Q departure, a Ruin Haunter wanders among the shattered remains of a city of the Star People. The dominating form of an even greater Q pyramid can be seen in the background. The MC villager? No, yeah, so these guys developed a little too fast. So they're just going to war. 2 of which were nuclear wars. I like how the story was like, the author was like, wait, by the way, 2 of them were nuclear. Look at them. So yeah, not developed enough to have that sort of technology yet. I think it was the Qs, because that's their pyramids in the background. But that was their signature, what is it, building? Smart enough to have nukes, yes. So they did some of the things. Some of the things that they were replicating, they didn't even understand. So that's what they were doing. Look at them. We'll have a quick look at them here. All right, let's keep going. Sorry if you heard me drink. Sentience reborn. Any sort of arrangement can be brought to the history of mankind. The post-Q era of emerging human animals can be likened to the series of millennial dark ages. However, like any dark age situation, these periods of silence had finite lifespans. One by one, like stars emerging from the fog, new civilizations were born out of the shattered remnants of mankind. Smart enough to use and make stuff, but not exactly understand cause and effect, consequence, and all that. For understanding right. Yeah, basically, they didn't really understand exactly what they were making or what it was like, or the capabilities of what's gonna happen if they use it, you know, stuff like, they just, you know. It's like giving a kid, you know, stuff they're not supposed to have, basically. In some rare cases, the recovery was a swift and straightforward. in other situations, it came only after a lengthy series of adaptive radiations, extinctions, and secondary diversifications. Within these lines of descent, there was such distance between the initial post-humans and their intelligent descendants as between the first crusty fuzzballs and Homo sapiens. Too busy thinking if could and not should. Oh, yes. But they're just goober. They're just the dumb ones. They're just the idiots. 5 consecutive world wars, by the way. Remember, 2 of which were nuclear. Sooner or later, human intelligence returned to the cosmos, but except from their shared ancestry, these new people had nothing in common with people of today, or even each other. Extinction. Not all human animals made it through. In fact, it must be realized that the majority of post-Q humans died out during the eras of transition. Extinction, the utter and absolute death of an entire family, entire community, entire species, was rampant in the galaxy. There was nothing cruel or dramatic in all of this. Extinction was as common and as natural as speciation. Sometimes these species simply failed to adapt to competition or the abrupt changes of conditions. On other occasions, their numbers dwindled across the imperceptible gulfs of time. This way or the other, human animals faded out. Oh, sorry. Spoilers. In all of this death, however, there was new life. As one species vacated at a certain niche, others would soon step in to take its place. Adaptive radiations would follow, filling in the blanks with myriads of diverse and varied forms. Despite the falling, the flow of life would proceed, blazing in constant turnover. The fossil of an extinct aquatic human from a forgotten colony world. Unbeknownst to the universe, his kind adapted, flourished, and died out soon after the Q retreat. His tale served to tell us that all that is alive will inevitably perish. And it is the journey, not the conclusion, that matters. I think we saw these earlier, the dolphin people, the actual dolphin people, the one that had the nose. Is it alive? No, this is the skeleton. This is a fossil of that thing. Yeah, it's a fossil. The jaw. Is that a jaw? But yeah, again, this is a human skeleton. So remember, this is like, you know, the neck, these like the hands, the feet, the hips. Need some water. Guys, I'm running out of water. I need to get water. I'll get water later. But yeah. Oh. Oh no! Alright, we're fine. We're chill. We're chilling. Anyway. Yeah. So there were other humans that just didn't really get too far, that the Q fucked with. And this is an example. Yeah, sorry. She just heard something outside. Anyway. Snake people. Descendants of the worms. So I don't know if you guys remember from last time. There were the worm people. I guess I can go up to show you, but there were, you know, I'm sure you guys remember. They were like these bald, weird little worms. So the snake people is their descendants. Note page. Should I go back up here and show you guys? So we are on page 68. These guys. We'll just go back to 68. So, remember these guys? The worm people? 2 worm parents? So, so now millions of years have passed, and this is them. This is what they have changed into. So let's go back to page 68. Snake people. The scorching sun eventually cooled down. So yeah, they were on a hot planet, and that's why they were underground and worms. And life flooded back to the surface from her subterranean stronghold. As animals of all kinds exploded into terrestrial niches that had been left vacant for millennia, so did descendants of the worms. On the surface, they found new opportunities as entire assemblages of serpentine grazers, swimmers, predators, and people. One form, descended from tree-climbing mammalian snakes, re-evolved the human intelligence that had lain dormant for so long. They observed, contemplated, and philosophized with novel, spirally coiled brains, and handled the world with a singular pelvic hand, born from the remnants of their ancestors' feet. They looked nothing at all like their distant human ancestors, but their social development followed a similar path. Several agricultural world empires followed by industrial revolutions, social experiments, world wars, civil wars, and globalization. But then again, social political parallelism in history did not necessarily imply a similar or even recognizably human world. Reminds me of Spore. Yeah, this is some cursed ass Spore, man. Do they got any like mods for Spore where you can just put like more human like weird appendages on your dude? Anyway, modern cities of the sorry if you guys hear me taking the breaths. Unfortunately, this needs me to you know. Modern cities of the global snake world were tangles of pipe-like roads, branching three-dimensional railroads, and windowless, hole-like buildings. Though their knotted agriculture differed from region to region, these segments generally looked like kilometer-wide balls of glass, metallic, plastic, and cloth, wrapped so tightly that a human of today could find it impossible to move inside of them. Plazas and open areas were totally absent as they presented navigational obstacles and areas of insecurity. Plazas. Did I say pizzas? I didn't say pizzas, right? Because I glanced at it and it looked like pizza for a second. I was like, they got pizza too? Their evolutionary background in the trees had made the snake people into borderline agoraphobes. None of these, of course, were unusual to the snakes anyway. Their relatively alien lifestyle were as particular to them as ours is to us. All across the world, the arterial cities throbbed with people, each with their own throbbed. I was like, does that really say throbbed? Each with their own joys, sorrows, and chores, living out lives as human as any other intelligent beings. There we go, that's a snake person. So now they have the human intelligence, they've had the human society. A snake person at home, enjoying a book while smoking and listening to vibrational ground music. Through the open book can be seen as the chaotic tangle of the city. Yeah, so this is they're just chilling. This is just a snake person at home. They're reading their book, having a smoke. So whatever this is, window. He got that shit on. This is his hand foot at the end of, because he's like a snake, he's like a worm, you know. Their worms are spirally their worms. Their brains are spirally. She's cool and awesome book. Can't thank you enough for showing and reading it. Aw, thank you, because I'm glad you're enjoying it. It makes me so happy to hear that. I'm glad. So, you haven't heard of this? This shit fucking traumatized me a couple years ago. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so good. But I'm so glad that I could share it and you guys are enjoying. Thank you, Kasai. Thank you. But yeah, this is the first of the next evolution of the humans. And yeah, again, I like looking for the details of them being humans, like the hands and the skin texture. Hope you guys like the music that I picked too. Again, I would like to add more music, so let me know. May have heard of the title in writing only, and Prob if did hear it. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Alright, let's go. Killer folk. Descendants of the human predators. Alright, so we're on page 70. The human predators, if you guys remember those. These guys. These tiger guys. And then there were the ones at the prey. Ambient sounds for the reading? I could put like ambient sounds in the background along with the music, but I think it should be music like this, don't you think? Alright, so remember this. Now let's go back to 70. Alright, killer folk. Descendant of the human predators. The carnivores also rebounded into civilization. Their journeys involved a series of changes, during which they lost the adaptations that had allowed them to endure as the top predators of their world. The saber teeth, once used for slashing through sinew and trachea, became fragile and thin, useful only as organs of social display. The hook-like thumb claws were also reduced, but not deleted. In their place, the last 2 digits rotated perpendicularly to become newfangled graspers, and all this gracility, whatever, however, did not mean weakness. Although they were no longer specialized for hunting, the killer folk could still kill with their bare hands, but only if they really wanted to. What enormous claws and teeth could not do, they could easily achieve with bow, arrow, flintlock repeater, or gas rifle. We'll figure something out. Maybe just make something someday. I will think. Do we got any farm sounds? What if I make like a little scene here or something? I don't know. I would like a little farm, maybe some farm sounds. I don't know. To me that's relaxing. But you guys were like, no, Nelly, we're not gonna do farm sounds. Like, what about a cow farm? Anyway. Their descent from predators gave the killer folk a unique social profile. Almost other religions had rituals, allowing for periods of completely natural animalistic hunts and duels. Their necessity of venting these atavistic urges also led to the formation of religious hunter nobilities, privileged warriors who were skilled in the arts of hunting, war, and murder. Entire societies were assembled underneath these ruling classes, orderly communities that erupted once every year into an orgy of death, sex, and prayer. For thousands of years, nomadic warriors, together with their vast herds of once human livestock, chased and battled each other across a chessboard of continents. All of this chaos was to be swept apart with their advent of modernity and development of comparable to an industrial revolution. One nation pack of killers advised methods of settled, intensive factory farming, organized state structure, secularism, and technological leapfrogging were quick to follow. Farm sounds might be nice. Come on. Your stream! I did think farm sounds too funny enough. Really? Okay. I don't know. I'll have to look into it, but I kind of like this kind of music. Yeah, something like the cottage by the creek. That sounds cute. Yeah. I mean, for now, I'll have this kind of relaxing video game music. I guess the Pikmin one was too relaxing, which was that first one. But, you know, for now, something like that. And then later, I will look into that. Because right now, I am working on a really big project for the stream. And we will see it. We will see it soon-ish. You will see. Anyway. I was thinking fireplace sounds or rain. Yeah, You know what? I need to see if I can maybe find a scene that somebody has made that like has like stuff. I will see. I will have to hit the Etsy. Gonna make playlists for different genres. Yeah, I have this as a different. This is the reading playlist on its own. So yeah, I wanted something like this, kind of chill, you know, in the background. This song in particular is from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Let's see. All of this chaos. Wait, did I read this one? Yes. Needless to say, such developments polarized the world into bands of progressive, developed factory herders and increasingly fanatical hunting states. While one side condemned their old animal ways, the other side embraced them with blind zealotry. This was their crisis of modernity, the balkanization of the progressive and conservative factions of the road to global unity. Fortunately, the killers managed to pull themselves through, even after drifting dangerously close to global conflict at certain points. Maybe something from Animal Crossing, actually. There we go. A killer folk. A young male killer tours one of the myriad ruined fortresses in his country. Testimony of their species' bloody protein history. The planet of the killer folk is an archaeologist's paradise. It was more buried dark ages, ruined cultures, and fallen kingdoms than any other world. So yeah. And they mentioned earlier, he looking sharp with the hat, right? He got that shit on. He got that shit on. Look at him. He got the pattern. He got the cut too. So as you saw from before, they would hunt these you saw them, like, other humans, and here they have livestock that is descended from them. I don't know if they show us. I don't think so, but yeah, once human livestock. Imagine we had livestock. I mean, I'll eat it. Oh, wait, hold on. That was a little bit of a spoiler. Why'd they put them first? No, that was a spoiler. Toolbreed, descendant of the swimmers. So you remember those like dolphin looking people? This is page 73. These guys. This is their fellas. They used to be simple creatures, descendants of a better people that had taken to the sea. The remote sapien ancestors would have given such beings no chance of a sentient comeback, for they thought that technological advances were impossible in the fluid mediums of the ocean. But the swimmers were... I lost my spot. Disproved such predictions by founding one of the most advanced and most outrageously alien cultures of the entire human lineage. Fire, the cornerstone of industrial engineering, was almost impossible to sustain and use underwater. But the breeders simply chose another path when complex toolmaking proved impractical. They began to breed their tools and machines for them. It had started long before the species was even intelligent. In the endless variety of life in the seas, the swimmers always adopted and controlled the organisms that were useful in some way. Once domesticated, these creatures were willingly or unintentionally modified through artificial selection and conditioning. The process was slow, but once underway, its effects were formidable. A modern city of the what the, am I malfunctioning? Do I have to go get another Mountain Dew? Biopunk, sweet. You'll see the picture right now. Okay, I'm malfunctioning here. It's a lot of reading. And look at where we're at. A modern city of the breeders was a sight to behold. Huge, heart-like creatures pumped out nutritious fluids to a network of self-repairing living conduits. This was their equivalent of a power grid, and it reached every single one of the breeders' huge exoskeleton dwellings, powering bioluminescent lights, flickering cephalopod skin televisions, medicinal sea squirts, and countless other devices that had been bred from living creatures. So basically, it's like the Flintstones. The advances in biology had risen exponentially until genetic engineering was completely mastered. You know, if it was a save or a checkpoint, Also, I might need to go get some more liquids because this stream is a lot of liquids. Interesting, we'll see. Because this is actually getting a lot out of me, and this is a lot of reading, so we'll see. I'll go a little bit more, and then I'll get some water. I'll get some more water here in a second. Let's get through this page here. Let's see, where were we? Shot can be a good break because it reads for you. Oh, okay, nice. All right, we'll see. Cool. Yes, sea squirts. The advances in biology had risen exponentially until genetic engineering was completely mastered. Modern breeders did not need to use animals. A simple manipulation of cultured tissues and stem cells could give solutions to any problem at hand. The mastery of genetics had conquered many obstacles. The yawning ocean depths, as well as the planet's few tiny land masses, were now firmly within the breeders' grasps. However, they were not content with mere planetary dreams. New forms and bizarre creatures were still being developed, in daring attempts to conquer the one realm that was most hostile to life. Sealed in their living ships, the breeders wished to return to the stars. And here they are. You say biopunk, I say Flintstones. This song is from Sonic. So yeah. Everything that they use is a creature. Born from conditioning, breeding, everything. I hate it. And they just look like dolphins. They get to biopunk with stem cell flesh is metal. Flintstones? I don't see the human. They just look like dolphins now, yeah. I mean, maybe fingies. But yeah. Next one's livestock of the lizard herder. So it was these guys. The guys that were the ones that were too stupid, remember? Space dolphins, yes. So these guys. The lizards were the smarter ones. Yes, remember those. These are the descendants. What was it? I think it was page 73. Yes. Sauro sapiens. One of humanity's eventual inheritors was not even human. They came from the reptilian stock that had proliferated during the demise of the lizard herders. Theirs was a true case of the world turned upside down. As the humans degenerated into witless animals, the cold-blooded reptiles prospered in the tropical climate of their planet. Millennia passed, and they began to produce increasingly smarter forms, one of which distantly resembled featherless versions of the predatory dinosaurs of the past. Actually crossed over the threshold of sentience and built up a series of civilizations. These fledgling cultures were quick to understand the true origin of the monstrous ruins littering their planet. Ruins that, until then, had been considered natural aberrations or timeless memorabilia of gods. Now, however, they saw the intermingled ruins of the Q and the Star People for what they really were. It was through this understanding that the biologically unrelated sorrows took up the cultural identity of humanity. In their archaeological efforts, the Soros began to understand that animals they used for food and labor were descended from the founders of their very existence. And somewhere in the stars lurked the forces that malformed them. Forces greater than the Star People, dark forces that might someday return. The human animals served as a reminder, just as Pandaveris had, that if the Saurosapiens wanted to assure their continued existence in the cosmos, they had to be watchful. The pressure of such reality put their cultures under enormous stress. Some factions turned to made-up religions and remained ignorant under an umbrella of comforting fantasies. Others acknowledged the threats of the galaxy, reverted to a paranoid rhetoric of conversationism. I'm definitely getting water after this one, by the way. The galaxy had scared them greatly. Finally, there were those who saw the galactic rebout and acted to face the odds. However great they might be, conflicts and even wars were not uncommon between these three factions. In the end, the centuries-long dispute began to resolve in the progressive faction's favor. As they expanded their spheres to knowledge, influence, and activity, the Saurosapiens became as human as any other civilization opening up to the galaxy. So again, these were the lizards that were smarter than the humans. and they just ended up using these humans for food and labor. In this case, this guy is a mount. Here, the horse is here. And they were like I believe like worshipping all of this like humanity stuff, and then they realized like, wait a minute, these guys are humanity. So yeah, but their society was very human apparently. As you can see, this guy is wearing pants. I will say this doesn't seem like a very efficient mount, don't you think? They should have went with like a chocobo like shape or something if they wanted like a bipedal mount. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go get some water, so be right back, guys. Alright, sorry about that. I am back. Okay, I confess. I did not get water, but I got more Mountain Dew. Oh, hey guys, hi. Welcome back. I'm back too. Nice. Thank you. Perfect timing. But yeah. Also, dog is no longer here. Oh yeah, homie said why? Excuse me? My Mountain Dew. Thank you, Ray, for the head pats. Always the burger one too. Alright. So yeah. Look at the... You can see the humanness in the feet, I think. The face. The titty. Imagine you gotta cross the desert. Your mount is this fucking thing. Anyway. Modular people. Descendants of the colonials. Okay, so remember those filter people? Seems slow. Yeah, seems slow as fuck. Why would you use this? So 78. Remember these guys? The filter people that can only be sheets? And the sheets of these would cover their planet. Remember, alien to nut, normal to them. Yeah, I know. But you guys remember these? They were the ones that were completely sentient, and they would breed and continue on making more beyond their consent. Longest so, and they were used a lot for trips and all. I guess that's true. Any beast of burden, I guess it's true. I don't know. I'm just like, it seems less efficient than maybe a quadrupedal. But you guys remember these? The colonials? The flesh blanket. Yes, exactly. So let's go back to, what was it, 78? So these are the descendants. Modular people. The blind workings of evolution followed the unlikeliest paths, made use of the most fleeting opportunities. The very existence of the modular people were testimony to this fact. Their ancestors, the colonials, would have been seen as hopeless cripples by almost any observer. They lacked coherent organs, and their existence was limited to carpeting water shores like mats of algae. But as degenerate as they were, the colonials were resilient survivors, able to hold on to life in the harshest of conditions. As time passed, they began to organize themselves in differentiated colonies instead of a homogeneous mats. In the colonies, each human cell would perform a singular function and benefit from the union of others. Thus began the Great Age of Organization, during which different colonies competed with each other by developing specialized human cells that would give them an edge in the struggle for life. Some colonies grew enormous taproots that were able to siphon resources from far away. Others abandoned roots altogether and began to move themselves on starfish-like foot segments. Some colonies came with units equipped with claws and poisons, taking competition to a brand new, deathly level. Others responded to the threat with armor platings or watcher cells equipped with enormous eyes. The eventual winner of this colonial arms race was a sentient colony, organized around hyper-specialized units whose entire purpose was to direct the others. Their colonies spread around the planets as they adapted the parts of their rivals to function within themselves. Thus were the modular people born. Living in fully industrialized megapoli, yes, they came in an indescribable variation of shapes and sizes. Anything from castle-like guardian forests to diminutive scuttling couriers were a member of the modular whole. They would combine with each other and split up or exchange parts as needs presented themselves. The only thing constant in all of their protein existence was their mental and cultural unity. Due to their biological structure, these people had managed the impossible. They were actually living in a world of peace and utopian equality, where everybody was happy to be parts of greater united wholes. Can't hear enormous without FOV right now. Enormous FOV, sorry. But yeah. So this is the people just, you're like, you know what? Fuck it, let's move, and just turning into into pieces. So that's them. A modular colony treats a specialized digester unit with sprays of anti-ulcer medication produced by the medical drone held in its hand. Note the differing segments, each of them mutated human beings in themselves. So each piece is a person, or was one of those like colony people. But they like this. To them, this is about being part of like the community. Like instead of going to work, you gotta be in your colony. Yeah. So some of them have different needs, different uses. Like I see these ones have limbs and these ones have eyes. I like the onion hat. The onion hat is hard. They got that shit on. And they're happy. They're chilling. Looks kind of eldritch. Yeah. I mean, remember before they were just like waste management. Now they're chilling. All right. Toro sapiens, descendants of the flyers. Okay, wait. This is page 80. So the flyers we remember is these guys, right? Yes. I was expecting like they became cells and parts rather than just purgatory. They are part of a living body and important purpose. That's me, the whole planet hive mind. It's more like it's a person and then you can switch a person to another group of people. Like you're like, man, my left arm is a fucking dick. I'm gonna go get another one. You go and you're like, hey man, can I switch my arm? You're like, yeah, let me switch you. And then you do like a little trade and you're like, oh my god, this one's so much better. This right arm is totally amazing. And the one's gonna be like, man, this one's kind of a dick. And you're like, you know, whatever. Yeah, let me borrow John for the meeting. Exactly. They're like, hey, I need my good arm. You're like, god damn it, my sister borrowed my good arm and now I can't go to the meeting. It's like that, basically. And then the arm is completely sentient as well. Remember this. Remember. Anyway, so this is the flyers. Remember these guys, the pterodactyl people? So, it's these guys. So, the flyers' supercharged hearts had given them an evolutionary winning hand, and they diversified to fill up the heavens. It was only a time before the competition in the skies got too intense, even for their souped-up metabolisms. Some lineages gave up their wings and returned to the ground, living as differing sorts of predators, herbivores, and even swimmers. Their aerial adaptations gave them an edge on the ground, and they adapted forms of stupendous size and ability. Oh, a care package! Aw, thank you, Red. Alright, I get to have a little snack. I don't know why. Try it. But reading is low-key a lot of energy. Thank you. I will have myself my chocolate here. And my drink. Thank you. Alright, thank you. And some Mountain Dew, of course. Anyway. There are wonderful beings, but no sentience came out of the terrestrial sky beasts. Instead, civilization flowered in the skies, one species from a line of wading stork-like predators. The chocolate is making my mouth water. Sorry, chocolate too good. Wading stork-like predators evolved a brain that was large enough to imagine and act upon the world. Their feet, almost versatile to catch slippery, swamp-dwelling prey, got even more articulate and assumed the role of hands. As a compensation, they lost some of their aerial streamlining. What they could not do with their bodies, they were able to make up with their minds. But to ask you if you were good? Yes, I'm okay. I just like chocolate, okay? Their part of flight made the Taro sapiens a global folk. Before they could invent nations and borders, before they could invent nations and borders. With such an inherent ease of travel, ideas and individuals diffused too fast for social differences to ossify. Acting with a planetary awareness, they farmed their gigantic terrestrial relatives. raised cities of perches and fluting towers, harnessed the atom, and began to gaze up to the stars without having to compensate too much from the average individual social welfare, and without dividing into quarrelsome factions. So these guys don't even have countries. As egalitarian as their life seemed, they paid a stunting, inevitable price. Their hearts, even at the boosted stage, had trouble supporting their power of flight and grotesquely large brains at the same time. As a consequence, their species had an ephemeral lifespan. A pterosapien was sexually mature at 2, middle-aged by 16, and usually dead by 23 years of our time. This grim cycle caused them to appreciate every moment of their existence dearly, and they pondered upon it with feverish intensity. A shelf of scrolls of pterosapien philosophers would have been the envy of every human library. In their cities, life blazed away with unreal speed, rushing past to meet fleeting deadlines. As a species, the angelic flyers were victims of heart disease. So yeah. Pterosapien poses by the bizarre buildings of a seaside resort. At 10 days long, this will be the only holiday in her ephemeral life. Kind of cool looking. That's a woman, by the way. So see, she's on the only vacation she is ever going to have. Because they have such short lifespans. I have myself some Mountain Dew while we take a look at her. And since they can fly, no countries. So they're, you know, from what I understand, the whole world is a whole culture. Or maybe there is basically no culture because everyone's going around. But yeah, no countries. Let's move on. Asymmetric people, descendants of the lopsiders. Alright. So we're at 82. So lopsiders were these guys. Remember the flat guys that are like that fish? These guys? I'm watching title card, and the short life is a little easier for me to get due to a race and show living only like 1 year or so of our time. Ugh. Title card. Yeah, I think it's because the brain. Oh yeah, their heart is being used so much due to the being able to fly and the brain. And yeah, they really cherish every moment of their lives, I guess. Invincible. Ah, I see. Alrighty. Yeah, let's go back to 82. It was. Whoa, you saw it a little bit. So, descendants of the lopsiders, asymmetric people. Though contorted by gravity, the lopsiders managed to regain their sentience and developed a civilization in a short few million years. Squat, pancake-like buildings spread all over their planet. These constructs looked like squashed bunkers, and they were never more than a few meters high. They did not seem like much, but such structures were entrances to underground homes, schools, hospitals, temples, universities, but also embassies, prisons, asylums, command centers, and arsenals. They lived strange lives, but the lopsiders were human in all of their rituals and evils. Thus, it was only natural for them to expand outwards and look for new frontiers to colonize. Fortunately, their solar systems harbored other planets similar to the lopsider homeworld in almost all respects. All respects except gravity. But they weren't willing to let such trivial details stop them. Throughout their history, humans had always risked changing themselves to preserve their future. It was a risky gamble, but had paid off since the days of the Martian Americans. But re-engineering the flattened lopsided body for a benign gravity was a monumental task indeed. Suffice it say that the experiment took millennia to achieve even limited success. After countless attempts, the asymmetric people were born, or rather, made. Their bodies were changed considerably. What had been shovel-like toes to slither through the high-gravity dirt had become centipedal legs. Sorry, I had a burp. And the singular grasping hand was elongated to an extreme degree. Their grotesque faces had been inverted and turned upside down. after reverting from a flounder-like existence. Twisted as they were, members of this new race enjoyed tremendous advantages over their flattened forefathers. Flattened forefathers? Their social development also paralleled that of the bygone Martian Americans. Once again, there was a golden age, followed by increasing tensions and interplanetary war. But unlike the Martians, the asymmetrics ruthlessly exterminated their parent race and went on to rule the solar system alone. On the way, they stumbled across the remains of the Q and the Star People and advanced immensely. Triumphant on their own realm, they turned to the heavens for further exploits. So yeah, this is what happened to the flattened people. Sorry about the gulps. I'm gonna get the phlegm tea. I'm sorry about the phlegm, but yeah. They walk around on fingies. You guess this is an improvement? You would rather be like this than like the flounder person? At least, yeah. The fingies. The butt. Friday's got the most major change. True, yeah. They had to force themselves to change. They got armpit hair still. An asymmetric nobleman poses nude to reveal his bizarre anatomy. Normally, these creatures dress up in elaborate garments that resemble heaps of interconnected, enlarged stockings. Okay, never mind. He's purposefully naked. Apart from modular, but that is a mix of. Yeah, modular. The modular thing, the craziest part is that each piece is sentient. Okay, this guy is just naked in particular. He's posing nude. He's a nobleman. Alright. Symbiotes. What? Descendants of the parasites. Oh. Okay, this is 85. Okay, we remember the parasites. Draw me like one of your French girls. Yeah. Basically, I didn't realize. I was like, dang, you got no clothes on. Usually these people have clothes. So, descendants of these guys. You know, parasitic people. Instead of being, oh no, there's a leech on me. Oh no, there's a guy on me. So let's go back to 85. So, symbiotes. As time passed, the relationships between the parasites and their host got connected to such a degree that it began to involve a cooperation of the individuals. They were no longer single-sided relationships. In exchange for the host's nutritious blood, the parasites offered their heightened senses as early warning against predators and other hazards. Sorry, dog. A great arms race of symbiotic relationships thus commenced. Certain parasites offer their hosts larger eyes, others sharper senses of smell, hearing, or even additional defensive weapons in the shape of venomous saliva, malodorant sprays, or an extra bite. The hosts return the favor with longer running legs, stronger bodies, and specialized ergonomic nesting sites, rich in blood vessels and covered in insulating fur. Different complexes of parasite and host species evolved, compatible only amongst themselves. This is a long one. Development of such creatures was, in a way, reminiscent of the great modular colonies, striving on their own world light years away, as you can see. The Pygmy War? Ayo? The what? Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. The development of such creatures was in a way reminiscent. Oh yeah, I already read that. But unlike the modules, the components of symbiotes belonged to different species, and instead of modified variations of the same basic organism, in eventuality, both relations led to the same point: sentience. In the secluded forest of a certain continent, a new parasitic species developed. They did not have the ballistic poison sprays, infectious stings, or the grossly hypertrophied arm claws of their relatives. Instead, these parasites offered a similar bargain: an ability to think in return of total submission. Initially, this relationship was more like a horse and its rider, but after a few 100,000 years, the symbiotes could manipulate their hosts like puppets through a combination of tactile, olfactory signals. Sort of, yeah. I think you got your answer here, Kasai. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, let me keep reading. That's why I was like, wait, let me keep reading. A few more millennia and these combined beings developed an order, not unlike our own, compete with countries, politics, and even war, albeit reduced in the newly globalizing world culture. In this age, technology filled most functions of the host, but a thriving husbandry of these creatures still remain due to the tradition and simple efficiency. An average symbiote could begin the day on his business host and move on to a more comfortable domestic one when he returned home after work. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. No, don't worry. No worries, Kasai. No worries. So yeah, again, he's got a work body, he's got a home body. And perhaps, on the olfactory television, he could smell news of the excavations of the million-year-old cube ruins of the marvelous discovery salvaged from the Starman Rex, or the enormous radio rays that rose everywhere to listen to the stars. There's a pattern that was being repeated all over. Smell-o-vision is real. Loving this book so much. Hell yeah. I'm so glad you love it, Kasai. Hell yeah. Oh, I'm sorry that my reading is getting a little stupid. I need to drink some liquids. But anyway, yeah. You want to be real in the VR game? A symbiote poses on one of his several hosts. In the background can be seen some of their rural housing, with man-sized doors for their mindless hosts and the smaller hosts for their intelligent patrons. So, the human in this picture is this. The parasite. Yeah, the thing on the head is the person. Not this thing. So they have mindless hosts that they just, what was it? They just breed them or something? Yeah. So you can have a business host. So instead of switching clothes, they switch a host. So they go from this and like, oh man, I'm gonna wear my, gotta wear John for the meeting. And then when I get home, I'm gonna wear Steve. Like Steve's more comfortable to lay down in, So yeah. Oh boy, the new sports model Human 5 came out. You go to Walmart, instead of looking at clothes, you're just looking at hosts. But yeah. Oh, do we still want this song or no? We can skip this one if you think this one's too relaxing. This one might be too nice and relaxing. I'm running out of songs. I've run out of songs officially. Low key might buy a new Human Fit. Skip? Okay, fine. We're back to this one. Do you want this one? Is this one okay? That one you skip is from Animal Crossing. This one's better? Okay, we'll go with this one. Sail people, descendants of the Fingy fishers. Okay, so remember these guys? These guys, here we go. So, these are these guys' descendants. Oh man, I already forgot what page it was. What was it, like 86? 87. Here we go. Sail people. The finger fishers were already among the most divergent of the post-human races. With harpoon-like digits and almost crocodilian muzzles, they look nothing like the parental stock. But even this form would look conservative to their sentient descendants, with many small scattered islands, isolated subcontinents, and differentiated niches. Their homeworld was evolutionary cauldron, where isolated members of certain species could, under the right circumstances, evolve into wildly different forms. This condition was similar to the island realms of Madagascar, Galapagos, or Hawaii on Old Earth. Old Earth, huh? Except that this time it was on a global scale. Well, that sounds kind of nice. Some descendants of the fishers, trapped on lonely islands, grew smaller and developed their fishing claws into graceful wings. Others took directly to the sea and became the analogs of whales, dolphins, and... what is that? Mosasaurs? Within the evolutionary bubbling, one particular lineage gave rise to the ancestral sail people. They too elongated their fingers into wings, but those were not used for flight. Instead, they became sails that drove them effortlessly across the ocean. With fingers railed into sails, they used their mouths and extended tongues to catch their pelagic prey. These organs eventually assumed the role of the finger's long, atrophied, dexterous hands. The need to better navigate the endless seas put an inevitable pressure on their memories, and the sailors' brains grew correspondingly. It was only a matter of time until one of these navigators became smart enough to think. Even when sentient, the sail people still needed a long time to achieve any sort of social stability. Their scattered world made just for tremendous diversity of cultures, which competed and fought just as resiliently. Across generations, unforetold flotillas. Tortillas? Of tribal warriors battled each other in epoch-spanning pointless conflicts. Nomadic warriors and pirate societies inevitably came into being, prolonging the uncontrollable circle of violence. Cycle. My bad. Oh no. Only when a certain warrior tribe developed warfare on an industrial scale and the state society needed to support it, and then only when this notion of modernity gave rise to an idea of peace, did the sail people finally manage to unify. Generations of blood had stained the oceans for far too long. So these people are their own boats. A sailor goes hunting with his harpoon-wielding companion in the background. Extremely violent by nature, these people frequently resort to savage hunting campaigns to quell their bloodlust in modern life. Notice their tongue-derived hands and the accompanying flying creature. Actually one of the sail people's distant cousins. Where is the harpoon guy? This guy over here. You see his harpoon? That's the homie with the harpoon. You don't see him? You don't see him back there? Yeah, it's really tiny. But the tongue is the hand. So yeah. So the fingy evolved into this, the sail, and now they are their own boats. And I guess these are distant cousins. Yeah. Very violent, I guess. So next one. Satirac, whatever. 90. So, descendants of the hedonists. So the hedonists were the ones that were always fucking. Remember these guys right here? I'm gonna have myself a little drink. So remember these fellas? These are the ones that had to like fuck like millions of times for like 10 years in order to have one singular baby. The pets, yes, yeah. So hedonists. Satiracs. I'm just gonna call them Satiracs. That's probably not how you say it. Their pleasure-drenched existence, locked between their static paradise world and their inherently slow pace of evolution, seemed immune to change. Perhaps this was true for 1,000,000 years or so, but on larger scales, complete stasis was a fable. During a particular era, geologic upheavals threw up huge masses of land over the shallow oceans of their world. I don't know why, but I feel like watching a Strawberry Shortcake VHS. Sorry, random thought. Anyway. The hedonists, until then, trapped on a singular island no bigger than today's Iceland, were not late to colonize these new pastures. This was more of a necessary exodus, since the events that raised the new lands had also thrown up enormous clouds of ash that smothered the atmosphere and blocked out the sun. Their innocence finally spoiled, most of the hedonists died out, unable to adapt. The only survivors were fast-breeding freaks who had abandoned the reproductive quirks of their ancestors. It was these forms that colonized the newborn continent and gave rise to a multitude of species, which included the Satirac sentient heirs to the hedonists. Only the fucking freaks survived, according to the book. These beings resembled their ancestors to a great degree, except that they now sported enormous tails, boneless organs of balance, woven of extended pelvic muscles and fat. Along these appendages, their entire bodies were reoriented in horizontal, almost dinosaurian postures. Though they had abandoned the frantic reproductive strategies of their ancestors, their social lives still retained a delightful tint of casual promiscuity. There we go. The Saturite civilization was quick to establish itself globally, for even with the additional landmasses, the terrestrial domain of their world remained no larger than Australia. For a while, three and then two land empires competed each other, before dissolving into a myriad of smaller nations and finally reunifying into a coherent world order. From this point on, the Saturite world once again became a Valhalla of pleasure, festivals, concerts, and ritualized orgies, punctuating every working week. Oh man, I gotta go to the fucking orgy on Tuesday. This time, however, it was all savored by true intelligence. Saturite audience goes wild as the performer hits the climax of his song. Such events are an everyday part of the Saturite life. So yeah, these guys are still mad chillin', and now they're sentient. But they evolved into like this dinosaur-like posture. He's got pants on. So this guy's a singer, he's a performer. He's at the climax of his song. He's hitting that shit. The bass dropped. They're going fucking insane. Look at him. Look at this guy. What could the music possibly sound like? We'll remember this for later. It reminds me of glam rock in such era as a civilization. This is that guy from, what was it? What was the game with Jack Black? Opera. He's not singing opera. Oh my god. Yeah. It's a Brutal Legend. Yeah. He's that hair guy. Yeah. Brutal Legend. Ozzy? Yes. Bug facers. Descendants of the Insecto guys. Alright, so this is page 92. So you guys remember these guys. Oh, whoops. These guys here. The hair guy. Yeah, you know, the hair guy? That's what it reminds me of. The bug-eating guys that were not sentient. Kind of lame. Alright. So, the bug facers. Over time, their insectivorous ancestors came to resemble their prey. Hardened, leathery faceplates, one used for defense against stings and bites, ossified and became integrated into the jaw structure. Their hands and feet, with reduced number of fingers and toes, developed into pincer-like affairs. Even their metabolism reverted partially into ecothermally in the balmy, lazy climate of their planet. Oh, I don't know about this. I think, what time are we at? I think I'm gonna have to finish this right at the end of the stream. Sorry, I had a burp. But it was none of those adaptations that gave them the edge in survival. Simply put, a congenital defect allowed them to regain their sentience. Even after smothering by the Q, the genes of the Star People remained dormant in their cells. Though pure coincidence, one lineage of the Insecto guys developed an atavistic throwback, resulting in larger brains, which just I'm starting to break. Which just happened to be useful in cracking open insect nests with crude stone tools. It was all downhill from there onwards. Through millennia long in itself, the development from stone axe to spaceship was an eye blink in geological time. Like many other species, the bugfacers passed through consecutive cycles as agrarian, in their case, hive farming, empires, colonial endeavors, industrialization, massive world wars, and finally globalized world states. There was one thing that set their development apart from all other post-human species. They faced another alien invasion. History did not record much about the invaders, except that unlike the Q, theirs was a singular effort, and it was beaten off in an intense cycle of orbital and terrestrial wars. Sorry, I don't know why that made me malfunction. Although vanquished, the invaders did succeed in leaving behind their traces. By the way, do you guys hear small dog? She's barking. She's out of here. They introduced their own flora and fauna, which flourished on the Bugfacer home planet long after they departed. More importantly, they imbibed? That says the Bible. The poor Bugfacers. Yeah? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Pathological interspecies xenophobia, to the point that they were fearful even of their post-human cousins on other stars. Through an ironic twist of fate, their fears would be more than justified, though not just yet. The Bugfacers still had time. A Bugface celebrity, arguably the most beautiful girl on their planet, poses before a coastal village. In the distance can be seen gas bag-like tree creatures, relics left over from the mysterious alien invaders. So, you guys don't think she's pretty? She's the most beautiful girl on the planet. Would? Would you? Mizuki? Guys, what do you guys think? Yeah, or nah? You're good? Okay. I like how sharp her shoulders are. Cowards. She's the most beautiful girl. That's like if an alien came over right now. And who's a beautiful celebrity right now? I don't know. I can't, pretend it's like 2007 or something. It's like, oh, Megan Fox, the alien's gonna be like, ew. Same thing. Anyway, asteromorphs, descendants of the spacers. All right, 94. Here you go. So the spacers. So remember the ones that actually escaped the queue? These guys, the ones that propel through the farts. Right. So these guys. Wait, what was it? Oh, here we go. Spoiler. Let's see. So, asteromorphs. Initially refugees, the spacers were quick to master the vastness of interstellar space. Their isolated space arcs joined together and multiplied to form a gigantic, interlocked artifact that was large enough to contain entire worlds. But no planets lay inside the asteromorph capital, only cavernous, gravity-free bubbles where the inhabitants could fully develop to their fullest. It's funny I said, oh, those are dead or probably gonna die, but then here we are. It keeps going. It keeps going. Just you wait. We're definitely gonna finish the book today, I think. Look. You can see the progression. Let's see. Freed from the constraints of weight, their bodies grew spindly and insectile, with individual digits extending into multitudes of thin, versatile limbs. Other than these, the only developed organs were these derived jet sphincters, which went on to become the principal means of locomotion. But above all were their brains, their bulging, swollen brains. Ew. Geeking to all of it? Hell yeah. I think we'll have just enough time to finish it today, actually. Like, perfectly. So, yeah. Get ready. So, I also like the ending. It's a good ending. You'll see. With no hindrance from the gravity, the human brain could grow into unprecedented sizes. Each generation devised experiments that produced offspring with greater cranial capacity, giving rise to beings who went through their everyday lives, thinking in concepts and structures scarcely incomprehensible to people of today. The sociological limitations of the human mind had been long since debated. Now it was established that these limits were indeed real. Individuals who could break them could likewise conquer new grounds in philosophy, art, and science. Everything changed. Yet some aspects of humanity, such as the basic desire to expand, remained. To this end, the asteromorph built great fleets of globular subarcs and spread their existence across the heavens, into every stellar cluster and every star system. Within less than 1,000 years, the galaxy was straddled by a few and far more alien empire of man. One for local under society crumbles. Give any of these guys a four loco. Oh my god. Strangely enough, oh, no spoilers. Strangely enough, its dominion included none of the newly emerging post-human species, for its masters had completely lost interest in planets, those stunting, gravity-chained balls of dirt and ice. The newborn Ark settled comfortably in the outer rims of star systems, quietly observing the lives of their struggling relatives. For the first time in history, there were actual gods in the myriad human skies. They were silent. They weren't even noticed for most of the time, but their watchfulness was ultimately going to pay off. So, this is basically the next step in human evolution with, no messing with. These was the spacers, now these are the asteromorphs. I'll have myself a drink while we take a look at him. His dick is as long as his leg. Red, that's not his dick, that's his asshole. The hedonist evolves have 5 loco. Damn, they got like 9 loco. Close enough. Imagine the shit that the hedonist like the descendants have. No, I'm dead ass. That's his asshole. Remember, they have to fart to propel. Look at his fingies. Look at that. Again, still a human, so he's got like lips. I think I said that really loudly. Hopefully nobody in my house heard that. You'd win? I think so too. Anyway. Second Galactic Empire. Ah, yes. Over time, the sentient post-humans began to reach out to the galaxy. They inevitably stumbled across the ruins of the Starmen and figured out their interstellar ancestry. These discoveries were followed by a realization that there might be others like them, unimaginable distances away. Thus, the fledgling civilizations set about to probing the skies. Wonder if he shits out like we piss then. Maybe it's just a huge ass like fucking lump. Like, get it out, real quick. Maybe Mizugi, maybe? No, I think so. I think you can do it. I believe in you. The contacts, all established by radio communication, were not spread out evenly. The Empire began a little more than a few million years after the Q left, with the first dialogue between the earliest killer folk and the Satrax. A few thousand years later, they were joined by the Tool Breeders, alien from the ocean depths through living radio arrays. Living radios, huh? So yeah, this is them like, assemble. So everybody is like, oh shit. Your human ancestor too? Your human ancestor too? So, as they've gained in like, civilization, sentience and all that, they're all like realizing, like, wait a minute. We're all this. We're all from this, the Starmen. It all connects to the Starmen, which were the Martian Americans, which were from the, us, the humans from Earth. Second wave of sentient species join in during the following 10 million years as the modular whole Pterosapiens and the fledgling asymmetrics contacted their celestial cousins. Finally, in the next 20 million years, newly evolving civilizations such as the Soros, snake people, parasite symbiotes, and the sail people successfully contacted the burgeoning galactic empire. The bugfaces were aware of the whole process, but due to their xenophobic experience, they only opened up after a staggering 40 million years of silence. This union was an empire of speech, for actual travel between the stars was too difficult to be practical. Like the bygone colonies of the Starmen, the post-humans cooperated through the unrestricted exchange of information and experience. Covering every aspect of an astonishing variety of cultures. My god, these words! The Empire's efforts focused on 2 main issues: political unification, though not homogenization, and galactic awareness, constant readiness for possible alien invasions. Everybody had come across the remains of the mysterious Q. Nobody wanted a repeat of the same scenario. When the Second Empire ran into the Asteromorphs, who had silently saturated the galaxy with their own empire of man, they feared the worst. But luckily for them, the godlike beings were not interested in the Second Empire, nor any of its worlds. The Asteromorphs were given a wide berth and accepted as they were, incomprehensible, omnipotent forces of nature. This coordinated effort lasted for almost 8 80 million years, during which its member species attained previously unimaginable levels of culture, welfare, and technology. Each species colonized a few dozen worlds of their own, in which nations, cultures, and individuals lived to the fullest potentials of their existence. Needless to say, all of this was possible only through constant communication and a total openness to the galaxy. Most communities took this for granted and dutifully participated in the galactic dialogues. But there were others, silent, darkened beings who refused to join. Through them could come the ruin of the Empire. So, right now, we're chilling. 80 million years. Chilling. But you know. Oh no. Gravital. Descendants of the Ruin Haunters. Alright. So, the Ruin Haunters... These guys. Remember these guys? What was these guys? Yeah. The guys that evolved too fast? Remember these guys? Yeah? 280 million years sounds short now. I do not want to think about it, but yeah. So, you remember these guys? These assholes? Yeah. Okay. Gravital. Descendants of the Ruin Haunters. After the lesson of the Q, Second Galactic Empire kept a constant watch against alien invasion. Ironically, they neglected to look among themselves. The second great invasion of the galaxy came not from outside, but from within. Those people are gaining eldritch knowledge. This is so cursed. This book kept me up for a while when I first read it. It's like traumatizing, but as you can see, it's amazing. So I'm glad to share it here. But anyway, the Ruin Haunters, who were lucky enough to inherit the secrets of the Starman, and Q, and their species were mere animals, had experienced a tremendous advance in technological prowess. All in all, they were as sophisticated as, if not more, than the Asterimorphs of the Void. But their ancestry was not a sane one. Recall that most Ruin Haunters were already deranged, with a twisted assumption of being the sole inheritors of the Starmen. They refused to communicate with their relatives on the planets and kept to their own affairs. This neurotic hubris assumed truly dangerous proportions as the Ruin Haunters modified themselves. Can you imagine someone just looking at the night sky and then panic after all this? Me. Let's not talk about it. The origin of this modification lay in an early catastrophe. The Ruin Haunter's sun was undergoing a rapid phase of expansion, and the species, advanced as it was, could do nothing to stop the process. So the Haunters did the next best thing and changed their bodies. The infernal conditions of the solar expansion meant that a biological reconstruction was totally out of the question. Thus, the Haunters replaced their bodies with machines, floating spheres of metal that moved and molded their environment through subtle manipulations of gravity fields. In early versions, the spheres still cradled the organic brains of the last Haunters, but in successive generations, ways of containing the mind within quantum computers were devised, and transformation became absolute. The Ruin Haunters were replaced by the completely mechanical Gravital. That's a funny thought. I'm not bothered by any of this. I just think about things too much. Well, not even organic. The Gravital still retained human dreams, human ambitions, and human delusions of grandeur. This, combined with mechanical bodies that allowed them to cross space with ease, made interstellar war a frightening possibility. I'm enthralled and so into it. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I need more music for sure, though. So yeah. Those guys were like, fuck, we're fine. The sun's gonna blow us all away. There's nothing that can deal with this. We gotta just be giant balls. So there they are. Also, by the way, as I've been reading this, I just realized, since I use YouTube videos, NomiBot uses YouTube videos, I think maybe I can have one of those songs be like a video of maybe like a fireplace. You know, mixed in with the music. What do you guys think? Then, of course, maybe like farm sounds, maybe like maybe forest sounds, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, they made themselves into these. Yes? Okay, nice. In that case, I'm going to need some help finding some good sounds. So yeah, sounds and music like this. Yes? Yes? Hell yeah. Alright, thank you guys. Thank you, Red. Thank you, Mizugi. But yeah, it's these guys. Alright. Machine invasion. It took a long time for the Gravital to prepare. I was looking at ambient sounds a bit ago and I think fireplace sounds good with it. Alright, hell yeah. Make sure... Find it in a YouTube video, like maybe like at least 30 minutes long. 15 at the shortest, but I would prefer 30 for any sort of sound, ambient sounds or music that's kind of like this vibe, okay? Curious, what would be optimal length of 30, 60 or more? I think 30 is optimal. 8 hours long is the one I found. Could you maybe do less? 60 is the longest. But I think I want to do 30. 15 at the shortest if it's something really good. Like the Donkey Kong song is 15. But I think it's really good. But anyway. Propulsion systems were perfected and new bodies capable of withstanding the interstellar jumps were devised. But when they finally decided that the time was nigh, nothing survived their slaughter. The invasions followed a brutally simple plan. The target world suns were blockaded and their light was trapped behind specially constructed million-mile sails. Go with strip stuff and stitch stuff with Audacity. Oh, trim? That is true. That is true, yeah. So I think 30 is optimal, or what do you guys think? Because all of them right now are 30 minutes except for the Donkey Kong one. Donkey Kong one is 15. So this one is 30. The first one is 30. They're all 30. So yeah. If the dying worlds managed to resist, an asteroid of 2 finishing them off, enormous invasion fleets were built, but it was rarely necessary to deploy them. The machines had caught their cousins completely off guard. So these guys are assholes, remember? The Great Dyings, all of which occurred in a relatively quick 10,000 year period, stretched the boundaries of genocide and horror. Almost all of the new human species, unique beings who had endured mass extinctions, navigated evolutionary knife edges, and survived to build worlds of their own, vanished without a trace. Even the Q had been loyal to life. They had distorted and subjugated their victims, but in the end they had allowed them to survive. To the machines, however, life was a luxury. Such thorough ruthlessness was not, ironically, born out of any kind of actual hatred. The Gravital, long accustomed to their mechanical bodies, simply did not acknowledge the life of their organic cousins. But this apathy was mixed with their unsane claims as the sole heirs of the Starmen. The extinctions were carried out with the banality of, say, an engineer tearing down an abandoned building. Under the reign of machines, the galaxy entered a brand new dark age. Tinfoil hat on, look at the MC villagers, justified player actions. Yeah, fuck those guys. They're literally the most terrible ever. Problem over 30 minutes? Hell yeah. Alright, send it to me, please. A rare instance of direct invasion by the machines. On one of the shore cities of the Killfolk, most of the time the inhabitants of the Second Empire were wiped out globally without the necessity of such confrontations. So yeah, here they are fucking up another planet. Yeah. So it's just because of their mentality, where they're like, you know, we are the heirs of the Starmen. We are the, you know, the humans. Good, as God intended. But they're wiping out all of the organic humans. When considering the invasion, the machine invasion brought on the greatest wave of extinctions the galaxy had ever seen, for it was not a simple act of war by one species against another, but a systemized destruction of life itself. When considering such a vast event, it is easy to get lost in romantic delusions. It's almost as easy to write off as the Gravital as evil, as it is to consider the entire episode as nihilistic, end of everything kind of scenario. Both of these approaches as they would be in any historical situation, monumental fallacies. To begin with, the Gravitals were not evil, at least not in their own perception. These beings, although mechanical, still lived their lives as individuals and operated inside coherent societies. They had surrendered their organic heritage, but their minds were not the cold, calculating engines of true machines. Even after giving orders that would destroy 1 billion souls, a Gravital would have a home to go to, and, as incredibly as it might sound, a family and a circle of friends toward which it felt genuine affection. Despite being endowed with compassion, their harsh treatment of the organics was a result of, as mentioned before, a simple inability to understand their right to live. This guy was like, alright, I'm about to nuke this thing, kill 1 billion people, comes home from work. You know, his wife, his circle robot wife, spherical wife, gives him like his plate of food. He texts his buddy on the phone, you know. Furthermore, the Gravital did not constitute a singular, indivisible whole whose entire purpose was to wreck the universe. True, their technological advancement had allowed them to form a pan-galactic entity, but within itself, the Machine Empire was divided into political factions and even religious faiths. Superimposed over these fault lines were the daily lives and personal affairs of families and individuals. Like any sentient being, they had a sense of identity and thus differing agendas. Basically sees all this as ants or less. Yeah. We're back. Alright, right. I'll take a drink of my soda while you do that. Sorry if you hear it. Anyway. Nor did the machine invasion mean the end of everything. Please, Kasai, please. There certainly was a widespread destruction of life, but what was lost was only organic life, consuming energy, directing it for reproduction, thought, and even evolution. Machines were as alive as any carbon-based organism. Despite the turnover, life of a sort survived. It would be seen as even preserved some of its organic predecessors. Subjects, many descendants of the bug facers. Okay. Oh, hi, Beanie Boos. Why you bunk me? We're here reading. Please. Hi, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Thanks. How you doing? My brain is getting a little mushed right now because it's been a lot of reading. But hi, how's it going? It's good to see ya. Oh, popping my fingies. All right. So remember those bug dudes? The one with the celebrity. Here's the descendants. Subjects, the bug facers. Racially shy and xenophobic due to their background of repeated alien invasion. So they're the ones that didn't want to, join everyone else because they're xenophobic. Became the first species to face the gravital onslaught. As ironic as their fate seemed, the bug faces were the luckiest of the post-humans. Instead of being exterminated like the rest of their cousins, they survived as the only organic beings in the machine empire. Hi, Beanie. Hi. The precise reasons for their retention remain unknown to this day. Perhaps the machines hadn't perfected their ruthless apathy by then, or perhaps they pitied the poor organics and allowed them to maintain a stunning parody of an existence. Whatever the reason, the bug facers endured, but they hardly resembled their original ancestors anymore. Genetic engineering, the lost art of the galaxy threading of Q, and later the tool breeders as well, was mastered almost as comprehensively by the machines, not hesitantly to wrap the beings which they did not really consider to be alive. They spliced their way into the bug facer DNA, producing generational literal abominations. Would a woman or man of today show an appreciation toward reassembling a computer, or even recycling trash? Such was the attitude of the triumphant Gravital. Hi, Beanie. This is probably really weird out of context. That's something that I just realized right now. But this is just a book about humanity, like far millions of years in the future. Almost immediately. These are these cool characters. Kills them off almost immediately. Exactly. Yeah, and it's so random too. It's these guys that evolve too fast. They just have this twisted view. And yeah, we're just gonna kill all these organics because they forgot that they were also organic at one point. Anyway, thus multitudes of subjects were produced, distorted to such an extent even the meddlings of the Q seemed incomparably timid. So now the robot ball guys are changing them. Most of them were used as servants, caretakers, and manual laborers. They were the lucky forms. Some submen were reduced to a level of cell cultures, useful only for gas exchange and waste filtering. Others were molded into completely artificial ecologies, baroque simulations that served only as entertainment. Some machines, with their still human ambitions, took this practice into a new level and produced living works of art, doomed one-off creatures who existed purely as biological anachronisms. Be it as tool, slave, or entertainment, humanity narrowly held on to its biological heritage while its machine cousins reigned supreme for an unbelievable 50 million years. A bug-facer archetype, flanked by his two twisted descendants. To his left, a phallus-bearing polydactyl bred as a sacrificial offering in one of the many different machine religions. To the right, a one-off work of art designed to play its modified fingers like a set of drums while ululating the tunes of a certain pop song. So this one's for sacrifices. This one bangs the drum on its own fingies. Its own hand is the drumstick. And yeah, their faces still kind of look like bugs. I guess this one specifically needs to have a dick to be sacrificed? Yeah. Oh, here they are with one. Another one. It's like a pet, look. The nose. Brow bone. So it's like a camel, but it's like a person camel. Remind me, these done by humans or bug race? This is what by machine. This is what the machine did to the bug race. The bug guys, remember, these are the only ones that they didn't kill, and they were like, you know what? We're gonna fuck with you. Yeah. See, that's them. So they just made them in various uses. And yeah, human camel. The lump. So you see this is the machine right here. Yeah. The other machines. Recall that despite its galaxy cradling might, surprising they are worse than the Q. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like a theme or a thingy, you know. The Machine Empire was not homogeneous. It contained dozens of differing factions that did not always agree on everything, including the treatment of their downtrodden biological subjects. Some machines, over a process involving several religions, social, philosophical doctrines, began to comprehend the universality of life and the common origin of organic and mechanical humanities. Initially, such individuals lived in seclusion or withheld their beliefs from the world. They secretly engineered lineage of subjects that could live, move, and think as freely as they could. In a few memorable instances, the engineers fell in love with their creations, and their martyrdom inspired other machines to think just a little differently. Eventually, the ideology gained such momentum to be practiced openly in everyday life. However, the sect of tolerization soon ran into odd with their hardline, pan-mechanical rivals. The seething tolerance between the two factions finally broke free when some tolerant machines wanted to set several worlds aside for the interesting development of biological life. All hell broke loose in the Machine Empire, and the apparently seamless monolith of the galaxy experienced its first short, bitter civil war. Oh, hi Red, welcome back. The war did not cause any lasting damage, but it plainly illuminated one fact. The greatest entity the galaxy had ever seen was not without its problems. So, in this image, this is the robot, this thing right here, this like cutting board. And this is the subject with sentience that it fell in love with. So eventually some of them were like, no, we can't just do this to them. And they made a sentient variant. This is his waifu. Bug race were sole survivors of races. Machine fucked with them using tech to remake them forever they wanted, even on a whim. Yeah, so they even made some of these dudes that have like drums for fingies. And some of them felt bad because some of the machines had like you know machines are sentient. They were like no, and they made some that were sentient, and they would fall in love with them sometimes. So this is that. This is love right here. You see this? This is love. It's beautiful, right? What do you think, Red? It's good. She's beautiful. Let's see. The fall of the machines. Return of the spacers. But in the longer one, the internal struggles of the Machine Empire just might have led to its downfall. But there was no need to wait that long, as the Empire died a shorter, but immensely more death. For a long time, the Machine and the Asteromorph empires had been eyeing each other nervously. They hadn't yet run into open confrontations. The Asteromorphs, I like enjoying all the rise and falls, how it makes sense. Yeah, right? Gets you thinking. As the Asteromorphs kept mostly to their outer space arcs, and the Machine Empire occupied the planets. In almost every inhabitable solar system of the galaxy, the same upside-down tension built between organic beings living in the void and machines inhabiting perfectly terrestrial worlds. Power was openly balanced between the two rival empires. Moreover, this balance involved forces strong enough to destroy planets en masse. Each side knew that any kind of war would result in mutual annihilation. Only insanity could start such a conflict. Well, the post-Civil War Empire of the Machines did go insane, in a sense. In order to divert attention from internal struggles, it needed a new enemy to consolidate its rival factions against. How unwise that this enemy came to be the Asteromorphs. It is unnecessary and nearly impossible to describe the carnage that followed. The conflict lasted anywhere up to a few million years, and the resulting loss of life, both mechanical and organic, made initial machine genocide seem irrelevant. When the cosmic dust settled, the winners displayed themselves. The conquerors were the Asteromorphs, changed beyond recognition after 50 million years of continual self-perfection. Their grossly hypertrophied brains stretched out like wings on either side, and their fingers-derived limbs had formed an intricate set of sails and legs. Endowed with superior technology with limitless patience, these beings almost completely destroyed the machines, despite losing a substantial number of their own species. The conflict was also thrust the Asteromorphs into the affairs of their not long neglected human cousins. As impossible as it seemed, some of the machine subjects had survived the ordeal. Now, the Asteromorphs could no longer look away. With the machines gone, it was up to the Asteromorphs to clean up after them. They took up the subjects and used their genetic heritage to populate entire planets. During this age of reconstruction, which lasted for another 2 million years, many Asteromorph world builders emerged as true gods, creating inhabited worlds almost out of scratch. Their subjects, meanwhile, became inheritors of a truly new, world-torn phoenix of a galaxy. So in this image is the evolved Asteromorph fucking up one of the machines. So what happened here, they went to war, but they won. But this is now a human only built for, being in space and being smart as fuck. So this is the brain. It's flaps out. And they took the subjects that were, the pets of basically the machines, and they're using those to inhabit the worlds. Yeah, that's what this guy is doing. The post-war galaxy. When replenishing Lost World, the Asteromorph gods also took measure to ensure the continued safety of their creations. The abrupt rise of the machines had shown that unless carefully regulated, the wealth of the stars could always host a race of pan-galactic usurpers. Deja vu looking at them. You think so? Wait, why? The Asteromorphs, watchful but ever transcendent, did not want to interfere directly. Instead, they produced terrestrial versions of their own kind to regulate the galaxy. They adapted their delicate, ethereal fingers into spidery limbs and shrunk their brains considerably to readjust to the rigors of gravity. The resulting sidelines were stunted by Asteromorph standards, but still, it produced demigods in every sense of the word. So yeah, these guys are like gods, kind of. Shape, lore, power, and more. Like the Q. These beings, often known as the terrestrial spacers, or simply the terrestrials, nurtured and controlled the development of the post-war civilizations on many planets. They acted as caretakers, prophets, kings, and emperors, but also as grim reapers, as the occasion dictated. Yeah. The endeavor did not always proceed as smoothly as planned, of course. Most of the time, the newborn races refused to heed their mentors, and in several cases even rebelled against them. Needless to say, this crime was always punished with a swift extinction. Furthermore, even the terrestrials grew corrupted. Instead of offering guidance, terrestrials on many planets simply played God, weaving contrived religions around themselves to shamelessly exploit their subjects. It was not ethical or even productive. But this method seemed to guarantee more stability than actually trying to bring up the new races. This way or another, organic sentience reclaimed its dominance in the galaxy. The new empire, managed by terrestrials, populated by a myriad descendants of the subjects and overseen ultimately by the omniscient Asteromorphs, achieved greater progress and a longer-lasting calm in the galaxy than all of its predecessors combined. So this is like a little version of themselves that they made to be like a demigod to them on the actual planet. And that's what they look like. You want to see what it turns out? Let's keep reading. We're going to go over the time, but I'm just going to finish the book, so don't worry. A new terrestrial shows a highly divergent yet still bizarrely human anatomy that is the characteristic of this species. These particular terrestrials maintain a religiously hegemony, over the clueless subjects, dressing up in elaborate veils and headgear to assert their divine inheritance. So yeah. This one's naked, but I guess they wear veils and all that, which sounds kind of cool. Imagine. The new machines. Long after their fall from grace, the machines still clung to existence. Want to take a second break then? No, it's okay. We're fine. I'm fine. Thank you though. Long after the fall from grace, the machines still clung on to existence. During the initial aftermath of the war, the Asteromorphs had planned to exterminate every last one of them. only to discover that the machines were simply too useful to destroy. For millions of years, they had perfected the interface between mind and machine to such an extent that they could live and operate in the most inhospitable conditions. Such beings, deprived of their galaxy-straddling power, would make invaluable contributions to research and exploration in the new empire. Sorry, I had a burp. There was a sense of poetic justice in all of this. Ugh. Sorry, my mouth. The machines, who were once distorted biological life forms to their whim, were finally treated to a similar fate. To begin with, the Asteromorphs completely scraped their ability of self-contained gravitational manipulation, the very force that had rendered them invulnerable in the first place. They were given finite lifespans and slightly numbed imagination, so that the history would not repeat itself. The degradatory nature of these changes, however, did not imply an overall regression. Unlike their ancestors, the new machines were endowed with nanotechnological bodies that would remodel themselves continuously, which meant that they could come in every shape and size imaginable, and then some that could not. A machine citizen could live for some time in the void of space, conducting research, and then transform into a completely different body, planned for a holiday. And cometary halo? Tropical jungle or methane ocean. He or she could also make the trip personally by growing temporary hyperdrives and ramjet engines. Wow. Despite their breathtaking versatility, the machines were never as common or prominent. Even after completely accepting their role as lowly citizens of the new empire, the greatest wars in inconceivable history had engraved the organics with too deep a mistrust of their mechanical neighbors. The new machines had always treated with a degree of discrimination. The sins of their fathers had come to shackle the most splendorous of all human species. A machine citizen of the new empire. She sports a dazzling pair of branching arms that suit both the latest fashion trends, and her job as an artisan. Machines follow fashion might seem unusual to the reader of this era, but never forget that these beings are human intelligence, only in different bodies. So this is they got rid of all the robots, but not all of them, because they were like, wait a minute. They don't have bodies. They can do things that, we can't. And so this is a woman. Yeah, I think these ones are probably my favorite because of how they look. Really cool. Really cool. Actually, hold on. Bear back. You guys probably hear Small Dog. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I'm back. Alright, let's get back to it. Drink some more of my Mountain Dew. Thank you, right? Thank you. Right? This one is really cool. Yeah. Partially human, and of course they're like, this is fashion. This right here? I'm not gonna lie, she got that shit on. A lot of them has had their own fashion, as we've seen before. It's great. Thank you, Gasai. Thank you. Second contact. Alright. With successive waves of machine-aided discovery and colonization, the new empire grew exponentially. Such was the growth of wealth and the progress that its description would need the use of concepts that remain unexplored today. To talk with a man of today about the coming and goings of the new empire would be akin to giving lectures of 20th century geopolitics to a hunter-gatherer. The magnificent... I'm malfunctioning. We're almost to the end. The magnificent entity was not blind to the universe around it. It tuned its eyes, ears, and sensors and probed the events of the surrounding galaxies. The new galactics suspected that the surrounding nebulae might also have their indigenous folk, and it was wise to contact them before a misunderstanding or conflict could occur. On a darker side, these observations also served as lookouts for potential invaders. Even then, the memory of the Q was not forgotten. The discovery was eventually made. One was the neighboring galaxies was showing patterns of activities that were the unmistakable signs of a sentient organization. Some thinkers reviled in the discovery of a new civilization, while others feared a return of the Q. Fortunately, this second encounter with an alien species proved to be a peaceful one. Perhaps the intelligence of both galaxies was finally mature enough to meet without quarreling. The other galaxy was dominated by connecting unions of different beings, presided over by various kinds of bizarre creatures that resembled giant snakes with heads on both ends, one which bore a secondary retractable body that would be used to interact with the world. Apparently, they had undergone alternating series of regressions, evolution radiations, and self-imposed genetic makeovers, just as humanity had. For all their wild difference, the Amencephali were welcome. They were the first, but surely not the last. The Amencephalus ambassador, with spaceships typical of their kind, her strange body plan betrays an evolutionary history as complicated as that of humanity. So this is the new homies. So this is other species that also got like fucking fadangled as we did. So now we're chill with this other species. Earth rediscovered. The purpose of this work is not to describe the limitless progress that followed the cross-galactic contact. One could go indefinitely, chronicling how the United Galaxies re-encountered and subdued the Q, how they cradled their suns with artificial shells, manipulating their inhabitable zones a millionfold, how they crisscrossed interstellar space with wormholes and made travel a thing of the past. Ultimately, descendants of these beings even conquered time itself, prolonging the existence of their minds indefinitely via rejuvenating technologies. For a time, all men were gods. From our vantage point, one discovery truly stood out in this orgy of advance. Compared with gargantuan achievements like the taming of space and the construction of the star shells, it was a mere blip, a revelation of long-forgotten trivia. This was the rediscovery of Earth, the birthplace of humanity, where the omnipresent asteromorph, the star-gliding machine, and the million humble resident races could all trace their origins. It was made quietly by a single researcher combing the vestiges of forgotten history. Decade after decade, millions of years of wars, invasions, and extinctions had buried the existence thoroughly and incomprehensibly. When she finally came across the irrefutable evidence, nobody was around to celebrate. This would come later. By the time of Earth's discovery, humans had diverged considerably from their ancestral forms. I think this is just another one of those god dudes that they placed down. So, yeah. Return. The discovery sparked a certain amount of interest, although... Sorry, it's dog. The discovery sparked a certain amount of interest, though nowhere as much as other breakthroughs had. Hold on, let me go grab her. Okay, sorry, I'm picking her up. Let's see, where was I? To most humans of the cosmos, their ancestral birthplace was an interesting piece of information, a piece of trivia with which they had lost all ties. Still, a ship was sent forth, and it landed without ceremony. Are you skipping this one? Oh, I think you don't like this one either, don't you? Still, a ship was sent forth, and it landed without ceremony. For now, there was no intelligence left on Earth, too far away from the main centers of population, and had been completely ignored, gone stagnant and feral. But still, it was home. Yeah, I told you, it does work. When the explorers stepped out, human feet trod on old Earth once more, after an absence of 560 million years. Mankind was back home. All tomorrows. I must conclude my words with a confession. Mankind, the very species which has been chronicling from this terrestrial infancy to its domination of the galaxies, is extinct. All of the beings which you saw on the preceding pages, from the lowly worm to the wind-riding sail people, from the megalomaniac gravital to the ultimate galactic citizens, lie 1 billion years old. We're only beginning to piece the story together. What you read was our best approximation of the truth. Why did you disappear? Perhaps it was a final, unimaginable war of annihilation, one that transcended the very meaning of conflict. Perhaps a very gradual breakup of the united galaxies and every race facing their private end slowly afterwards. Or perhaps the wildest theory suggests it was a mass migration to another plane of existence. A journey into somewhere, sometime, something else. But the bottom line is, we honestly don't know. Ultimately, however, what happened to humanity does not matter. Like every other story, it was a temporary one. Indeed, long, but ultimately ephemeral. It did not have a coherent ending, but then again, it did not need to. The tale of humanity was never its ultimate domination of 1,000 galaxies or its mysterious exit into the unknown. The existence of being human was none of that. Instead, it lay in the radio conversations of the still human machines, in the daily lives of bizarrely twisted bug facers, in the endless love songs of the carefree hedonists, in the rebellious demonstrations of the first true Martians. In a way, the very life you lead at the moment. Many throughout history were aware of the most basic fact. The Q, in dreams of an ideal future, distorted the worlds it came across. Later on, the Gravital, with its insane desire to recreate the past, created the biggest massacres in the history of the galaxy. Even now, it is sickeningly easy for beings to get lost in the false grand narratives, living out completely driven lives in pursuit of non-existent ultimates, ideals, climaxes, and golden ages, and blindly thinking that their stories serve ultimate ends, such as creatures almost always end up harming themselves, not those around them. To those like them, look at the history of man and come to your series. It is not the destination, but the trip that matters. And what you do today that influences tomorrow, not the other way around. Love today and seize all tomorrows. So, that's it. The author, with a billion-year-old human skull. So this is the guy that made this. As you can see, what the fuck is he? He doesn't even know how to hold the skull. Tomales follows humanity as our species spreads to the stars, encounters a mysterious hostile race, and is scattered across thousands of worlds as animal-like post-human beings. The summer of 2021, Ultramars was rediscovered thanks to a popular reader demonstration on YouTube and has since enjoyed a surge in popularity. You eat my dinner amazing? Really, Mizuki? Really? Aw, wait, what'd you have for dinner? But thank you. I'm really flattered. Sorry about all of the clearing my throat and all that, but yeah, that's the author. That's him. That's the dude. That's the guy. So by this, everything is completely extinct. And yeah. The theory here is that, supposedly the humans disappeared, the asteromorphs, gone. The theory is that they eventually became so advanced that was actually the Q, because as they said, they eventually manipulated time. So yeah, that is the theory. I don't know if it's confirmed or not by the author. I'm not sure. Maybe we can steak and potato, huh? Okay. You know, hold a special place in my heart. Feels like a missing piece in media I cherish. Aw, thanks a ton again. Aw, you're welcome, Kasai. Aw, I'm so happy. I'm so glad you could enjoy it so much. Oh my god, sorry. Dog is licking my pajama pants now. But yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I'm so glad everybody enjoyed it. Mizuki enjoyed it. Had a great dinner. Hell yeah, I'm so happy. And ooh, this one feels like a workout, but I still like it. Unfortunately, we do not have time for Scrimshaw because I'm already over the time. I honestly expected to be done quicker, but now we know how long it takes me to read a story like this. So